Hello, this is Max Drake. I just want to talk about this app, which was the Glide Destination app. So it's really about the geolocation of where am I. So once you've got the where am I, and I push that data into there, you can start opening up certain things. On that one particular, it was just sort of like, am I walking? It was a mode of transport and where you could get to within a certain area. So I wanted to take that a step further and start looking at filtering down stuff. Now, at the moment, within the Glide app, you've only got one colour marker. So that is a bit, how do you differentiate between things? And I'm sure they'll be coming through with some extra additions through, or you're looking at it in a month's time and things, or 2 months' time, and it'll be changed. So if you look on Google Maps, you'll see that they've got different coloured things. So for shops, they've got blue. For restaurants and bars, they've got the orange. For hotels and motels and all of those, they've got the pink. So you could, but it's still quite noisy. And so one of the things that I'm looking at is to try and filter a lot of the information out. So that was the notion of what we're doing there. But a couple of other things that are added on. There's this chap here did a fantastic app. I think it's gorgeous. And one of the ideas that I think is really nice about it is it sort of crowdsources. Other people can find it. So this is delivering an app for delivery in Norfolk based on COVID-19. And he's got all the pins on the map, and this is before you can actually find your location, and it's got all of these places. Now, the other thing was, people might suddenly thinking, well, there's all of that information now. I can actually just use it as a great shopping place. It's okay, then we're now going to shops. We've got to have face masks, but there's a whole lot of shops that I wasn't even aware of, and now this app's here where it's got all these different criteria. I can drive into a place and find these things quite easily. So I like the crowdsourcing. I like what he's got with the pins. It would be nice now that we've actually got this geolocate yourself, that you can start saying what's in my proximity, what's available for me to go and explore and so do. Another thing is that I've got my Patreon page now through here, and my first patron was Greg Legacy, and he has this business which is shopping locally and selling locally. So there's a whole thing of connected up buyers and sellers and doing some sort of process through there. So again, it's all of that. With the proximity thing, you could do some quite smart things, and again, if he's gathering a whole load of information, if he puts that into an app, he's able to allow people, from their location, seeing what's in locally available. And especially with the COVID thing, it's knocking everybody for six. So small businesses are really struggling. So being able to support them locally is, in my thing, very, very good cause to go for. So going back to the app, we can actually go through. We can choose our criteria, and we're going to go and choose bars because that's what I like, and we can choose the distance away from it. Now, this is a new thing in Glide that I wasn't aware of, which is this little bar. Unfortunately, I played with it. I altered this table and then I altered it again, and this I got rid of. And I had one as the lowest, but this seems to have come back, although it's not on the sheet at all, so I might have to build the app. So if I just go back to the pull down, again, I've still got this dash. Don't know where it's come. I had it, and then I took it away, so it seems to want to remember. Anyway, I'm doing three things in here. I'm finding my location, boomf. I'm finding the criteria that I actually want to explore, and I'm finding the distance that I actually want to explore. So based on that, if we jump into my original one, just had a list of things that the ones that I actually wanted, and then I found out where I was. I chose a destination, and then it gave me the path to actually go there. In this one, I actually want to have a map, but I want a blank map until I choose the criteria of what I want to show on the map, because I really only want to filter it by certain things. So this is the way. So basically, I want all of my places on another page. I want everything somewhere else, and then I just bring across what I want to show on the map. So I know when I look at the map, I have a choice page where I choose certain things. Then show me those things. So don't show me all the rest of the noise. Just show me what I want to know. and then I've got those things there. So what I've got on this one here is I bring across my proximity, where I am, and then I split that out into latitude and longitude. Each of these items where I've actually got, I've got them by category, and I've got what they are, and then I've got their latitude and longitude there, and then I break out their latitudes and longitudes. I've got an image for them, and I've got an address for them as well. But I was only thinking the address is handy because you might get to somewhere, and then you know the entrance might be around the corner or something. So it's sort of handy to say, is it this one or whatever. So we have those things coming through there, and then we start saying, well, okay, then what's the distance between them? So in the previous video which I did, which was about garbage trucks, I actually did something, and instead of calculating the distance between the two, I just did a measure on Google Earth for that. But on this one here, I want to recalculate my distances every single time, depending on where I move to, because suddenly a lot of these may not be relevant later on. So how do I do that? There was an article. Oh no, there we are. There's an article here on geographic distances can be simple and fast, and I had to do a bit of a refresher on that. So basically, if you've got 2 points on a globe, so you've got football or you've got the Earth, you've got 2 points on a globe, normally you draw an arc, so a arc all the way through, similar to the equator, between those 2 points, and then you look at the degree of arc. Because you're actually normally doing it in the plane of the equator, as you get closer to the poles, the distance between your two longitudes gets closer together. So that distance is not the same. So you can't work on a flat Earth idea of it. So there's a little bit of a fudge factor that you go through here. Basically, you're using the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the square of the other two sides, but one of the sides shrinks a bit. So there's a way of adjusting for that. But I said for small areas, it's not that important. And then, so a great arc, well, like going right the way around the actual world, is 360 degrees. 1 degree of that is equal to 110 kilometers. 110.25 is the factor that he uses through there. So that's what we use. So 1 degree is equal to that. So when we actually get the difference between latitudes and longitudes and do the square of the hypotenuse and all of that sort of stuff, we actually find that the end distance is in degrees. So we then multiply that by the degree length, and then that converts it into kilometers. And I'm not doing those funny mile things. I had to suffer that when I was a kid. I don't need to do it now. So basically, I then square the difference between the latitudes, and I square the difference between the longitudes. I've actually got them as absolute, but since I'm squaring them, I don't need to. But the first time I was doing it, I was going to use more cells, and I suddenly thought, well, I'd just bang them all together. So then in the last one there, I take the square root of the difference in the latitudes and the longitudes, which have been squared, and then I square root those, and then I multiply them by the 110.25, and this is what I get. So I get 4 meters, I get 40 meters, 140 meters, 310 meters, 100 meters, 4.5 kilometers, 18.72 kilometers. So I'm getting all of these distances coming through based on where they are from a distance away from the point that I've actually got. So it's doing those calculations. Now, another way of doing this, which might speed it, actually, no, I can't. No, I was suddenly thinking another way of doing it was to do the filtering first. Well, you could filter first in a way. You could actually do a single filter and push this onto another sheet. So as long as you just do a criteria based on the bar, and then a way of speeding that up, although it's pretty fast because there's not that many of them, is that you then do the calculation on their distance away. So you find all the ones which are bars, go and shove them onto another sheet, and then you do the distances and find out the square, the hypotenuse, and all of those to get those distances, and then filter by that. Because then you're actually only doing, like, if you've got something like 500 or 1,000 locations, you have to do a lot of sums. At this point in time, we're only doing a small amount, so it's negligible, but you don't. But that's one way of doing it. You start splitting that information off at an earlier way. We can filter this out, shove it onto another page, then do the calculations through there. So that's one way of doing it. So once we've got that distance, we know the distance from where we are. Then we can actually say, what's our criteria? We can say, whatever we actually chose, which I think was 1 kilometre, if it's less than 1 kilometre, then we give a 1. If it's more than 1 kilometre, we give a 0. So all of these ones, 3, 4, 18, are all more than the kilometre, so we put a 0. The second criteria that we actually do through here is we actually have a category. What was the category we chose? We chose bar. Now, we check this against the category that we've chosen in the other one. So the bar was the category. So since that's a bar and that's a bar, that's a 1. And if it isn't, then it becomes a 0. Then this formula, or this formula has to be, is if this plus this is less than 2, then we don't want it. Just leave a blank. If it is, leave it as a blank. If it isn't less than 2, so 2, which is 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, then give us yes or no. So you could have a yes or a no. And in fact, this is what I actually had the problem with earlier on. I was using an array formula based on whether it was blank or whether there was something here. At this point in time, this has been sorted. So these are sitting at the top, when in fact, if you sort by other things, these ones should be sitting halfway down here anyway. And what happened is when I actually had blanks through here at the beginning and I was using the array formula if blank, it was suddenly giving me a whole lot of blank rows before it actually gave me this information, the yeses and the nos. So it's breaking it on the map. So I had to, and so I was suddenly thinking, oh, well, I need to sort first. So I'll do this sort. But that's a subtlety inside Google Sheets, which I've got a feeling they've tried to solve through here with adding a sort through here. But what you can do instead of that sort, so obviously I was really into this about a year ago, and then I've stepped right away from it. So my solution to this one is doing the sort. Can't do the sort in there. So the way that I actually used it instead, the solution was in the map was to use filter. So all I actually have to do is go and look in that particular row and just say, for that column, if it's less than or larger than 0 or blank, show it to me. Now, the bonus that I get on this is it comes across with the headers as well. And then also the other thing with the filter as well, with that one there, is you can say filter and in the list, and you can actually say only show me from column F through to S. So all of those other little blank columns off to the left or anything, we don't need to know those. So you bring across exactly what you want. Now I've done a concatenation one through here because I can then use equals split this one here and do a comma and do it by that, to get all of that data back through. So that's what I was doing. I was actually trying to use the sort and then getting the yeses all the way up here. And then I was trying to bring all the data across in one cell. And then once I got the data across in one cell, I could split it out and grab that data through that. So that was one of the processes I was trying to do. That was a little bit ratty here, but it's sort of proof of concept as well. This is not an app that you're going to go and share or template or anything like this. You would build an app around that idea. So that's basically what I'm doing. I do a whole lot of filtering. Now, again, you see, if you wanted to do 4 lots of filtering, so you wanted an inner radius, an outer radius, because you're suddenly thinking, I want to go for a cycle, and then at the end of that cycle of about 3 or 5K or 10K, I want to see what's out there and go and do something interesting. So I'll be knackered, but other people may. So you can actually do within so many K or without so many K, so you can have your inner ring. So all you do is if you've got those filtering through there, you'd actually just have 3. So anything less than 3. So you know that when this sums together, it's got to be 3 or things. So if you've got another one, then you make it 4. So as long as all of those ones, does it meet that criteria? 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 And then you just, on the one that you're actually doing the combine, you actually just kind of says, well, if it's less than 4, then it's not meeting my criteria, so I'm not interested. So it's another way of being able to tool things out. So once you actually start doing the filtering, you can filter to different levels of granularity. The other one as well is now I've actually just got the filtering through here and I started to play with it. But in some ways, this one, sorry, I need to go back to layout and I need to come back to there and I need to go to that one. And this one sort of signifies a thing that you can also do with your filtering is you can suddenly say, I don't want to filter by radius. I just want to filter by a certain criteria. How many of these shops that do knitting or eco something or other, how many of those in my locale, generally, up to whatever the map comes out or whatever data I've actually got in my database. So some of them might be, I don't want to actually filter by criteria. I just want to filter by, so there should be a blank in there. I just want to filter by a distance. So just show me everything in a certain distance and then that. So again, you can start getting quite sophisticated with some of your filtering tools through there. And I think for this person doing this, he's got a few pages on his ones, and again, being able to do that. And again, once you actually choose or you've got something there, the other thing that you can do is that you can have something like this event finder, which would actually have specific pages linked up. So once I'm in a specific thing, I can go to a lookup page that just has a few URLs based on what concerts or gigs or certain price criteria and things like that of certain things that are true in a particular neighborhood. So it's sort of thing in a new city or in a town, interested in this, interested in this, interested in this, or what shops can I go to which would be open between certain criteria. So it's that filtering based on your location, which I think is such a lovely tool in a way. So this is only a small part of a whole of something else. And again, once you've actually found something that you want, you can maybe choose a destination point and then choose your current location, get a URL link, and then get the actual map to actually show the most efficient way of getting you there, depending on your mode of traffic. So that could be another addition as well. So I hope that's been of interest to you. If you liked it, can you please give a thumbs up? If not, Otpanyaha, and consider subscribing and consider becoming a patron. Thank you very much indeed.